Have you ever eaten your emotions? Have you ever found yourself eating in response or reaction to a circumstance or situation? Have you ever found yourself eating even when you knew you weren't hungry? Chances are you probably have. This is what I used to do, and it's my experience that 90% of people I've worked with over the years do this. And that's how we get into unhealthy eating habits and unhealthy drinking habits in the first place. Share with me in your comments any thoughts, insights, or inspiration that comes to you during this video. So why do we do this? Why do we emotionally eat? And I think of this as buffering. It's a phrase I use that I learned from my coach. It's about this idea of using food or drink to get between us and whatever emotion it is that we're trying not to experience. For instance, we might be trying to avoid or delay feeling a feeling. It might be a negative emotion like doubt or fear or anger or frustration, sadness. Or we might be looking for stimulation. We know our body gets excited by food and drink. We're biologically driven to get a little thrill when we eat and drink. And so we often use this as a form of avoiding being bored. And that's uncomfortable. Sometimes we eat our emotions because we're celebrating. We're on a high and we're feeling great. We want to use food as a reward, or we're happy, we're enjoying ourselves, eating is pleasurable, and we want to stay in that zone. So we keep doing it beyond the point of satisfaction. We're overeating and overdrinking so that we can avoid returning to normal, coming down off that high. Or maybe we're just medicating. Maybe we're using food and our body's reaction to it to make us feel better, to make us happy, to make us feel special. And the trouble is, with all of these approaches, avoiding, stimulating, celebrating, or medicating, all of these different ways of buffering, none of them actually work for very long. And you probably know this already. You know, even if we're putting off negative emotions, we can avoid it for a little while. Often it just bubbles and builds during that time. And then we have to experience it anyway. And not only that, we end up then experiencing the doubt, the guilt, the remorse, the regret, the resentment of ourselves for overeating and overdrinking as well. We make the situation worse. Or we know that if we're trying to stimulate or medicate, that it often only lasts for as long as we're eating. In fact, research shows that although you can get a high in some of the neurotransmitters, the brain chemicals, from eating and drinking, it only lasts about 10 minutes. And often, if you have used it, you'll feel worse after. And again, then we're getting back into eating and drinking for avoiding the negative emotions. Even when we're celebrating, you know, as well as I know, that more food does not equal more pleasure. Yes, food is pleasure when we go up to the point of satisfaction. And thereafter, more food, even if it's pleasurable in the moment, does not net more pleasure. We feel stuffed. We feel lethargic. We feel kind of gross. We might even feel sick, particularly later on or the next day. And it's actually net less pleasurable than if we just stopped, if we were satisfied, when we were satisfied. So all of us know that this doesn't work. Emotional eating won't fix emotional problems. Now, I don't want you to feel bad about having done that. You're not alone. We really are conditioned by our prehistory, by our upbringing, to use food and drink in this way. We're never really taught how to manage our thoughts and our emotions in any other way. Just think about that. Think about any time when you were a child that food was used as a distraction. Maybe it skinned your knee, or you're upset about something, and you were offered a biscuit or a lolly, or something, an ice cream, to distract you. Or maybe you got food as a reward. It was a special occasion, like your birthday, or you'd done well on a test, or maybe you'd done something good for yourself, like going along to the doctor. For me, we used to get a lollipop when we went to the dentist. That always confused me. I decided that maybe the dentists were drumming up future business. In any case, we've been trained on these for a very long time, and there's biological drives as well. We'll know for infants, for instance, if you have a child or you have parents or friends or families who are a child, very often when an infant is upset, discontented, the very first thing we do, even if they're not hungry, is to offer them the breast or the bottle so they can suckle for comfort. And suckling does provide some measure of comfort. So, if you've had that experience, I want you to, forgive yourself, forgive your parents. It's just that we're never really taught how to do it otherwise. And so we have all of these reasons why we do it and why we've trained it in such an ingrained habit for so much of our lives. But I'll come back to the point, it doesn't work. It doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't actually make it go away. And often, for those of us who are in an unhealthy state, who have an unhealthy relationship with food or with drink, then it's not helping. It's the thing that got us here, and it's going to keep us from achieving our goals and our dreams. And I want that. I want you to have your goals and your dreams. I want you to live a healthy life that you can sustain forever. The good news is, I know there are other ways to do it. I've learnt in my journey how to enjoy food and drink without using it for emotional buffering. And I want to teach you how. So we're just going to go through the short version today. And the first point to remember is that we're often doing this in reaction to a circumstance or a situation. And we think that it is the circumstance of the situation that makes us feel those unwanted emotions. That's a lie. It's never true. You've probably modeled throughout your life things like, oh, she made me feel angry. You made your brother upset. That thunderstorm was scary. Public speaking is terrifying. You've probably had all of these models where it's the circumstance that causes the feeling. It doesn't. Circumstances are emotionally neutral. It is just the situation, it's just the facts, it's the place you find yourself in. Your experience of that circumstance will be determined by your thoughts about it. Because in truth, it is your thoughts that generate your feelings. We create our feelings in our brain with our neurochemicals and neurotransmitters by thinking certain thoughts. And when we think different thoughts, we'll experience different emotions. What we think determines how we feel, and how we feel determines what we do. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings drive emotions. Feelings drive actions. And actions produce the results in the world that we see. It is our thinking, not our circumstances, that determines our ultimate result, the ultimate experience of our life. And that's good news, because thinking is something you're capable of. Our brain is a machine for making thoughts. It makes somewhere between 35,000 and 55,000 thoughts a day, lots of which you don't give any credence or attachment to. but some of them you decide are important and meaningful. And they're the ones that are going to generate emotions, the feelings. What's also great about this is because you create all feelings in your body by generating thoughts in your brain, you are responsible for making them. And what's so wonderful about that is that you can't therefore make feelings or thoughts that you can't handle. You made them. You're already capable. And if you need to, you can make others. So, how do we stop emotional eating? How do we use this wonderful piece of information that we call the model to support an alternative way? Well, let me help you. I have a 4-step process. And the very first thing to do is to bring your awareness back into your body. So you need to notice what are the thoughts and emotions that you're actually having. So I love to name them. Say what it is. I am feeling angry. I am feeling frustrated. If you really want to take true ownership of it, I am choosing to feel angry. I am choosing to feel frustrated. If you're not ready for that one, just name the emotion for now. So we're going to slow down to give us enough time to get out of reaction from the primitive limbic system, our primitive brain, and using our prefrontal cortex, our thinking, smart, emotional brain, our brain that is our logical brain, that holds our hopes and our dreams. So we're going to use that. We're going to slow down and notice, what is the feeling that I'm having? And what am I thinking? That alone will do wonders for you, to bring you that awareness, to bring you that ownership that you are responsible for your emotions. And what I love about it, emotions are a little bit like clouds, right? I like to think about the sun is always shining, and then sometimes an emotion will come along and cast some darkness or rain upon us, right? So think of emotion just like a cloud. And you can notice it, you can name it. You're a particular type of cloud. Your frustration, your anger, your sadness, your joy, your awe. And the good news is you don't actually have to do anything about it. If you wait, the cloud will just continue on its way. Remember, your brain is a machine for making thoughts. It's going to make some new ones, even if you do nothing else. And notice here that when we just allow our feelings, and that's step 2, by the way, we're going to notice, and then we're just going to allow. We're just going to give ourselves permission to feel whatever feeling it is, whether it's boredom or sadness or joy or celebration, embarrassment, shame, or even if it's boredom. Do you know you can, in fact, be bored? You can feel it, you can experience it. You don't have to do anything about it. If you just allow it and accept it in fact, if you embrace the emotion and welcome it in, you'll find that your body will process it quickly. And even if you do nothing, it will move on. Have you ever noticed that feelings pass because our brain keeps making new thoughts, and that will give rise to new emotions? You don't actually have to do anything. Now, I personally think that most feelings, in fact, all feelings, and especially negative ones, though, are here to teach us something. They're important. They want to remind us that there's something helpful or useful to pay attention to here. Something is not going the way we expected, or there's something we care about that's happening. That's great. We want to know those things. So if you like, it can be helpful to do part 3 and question. Why am I feeling this emotion? What is it here to teach me? What can I learn from this experience? That will make any emotion that you feel useful. And again, once you've gotten the message, your brain can go, oh, okay, you got the message. I don't have to keep sending the signal. You can just move on. Again, you don't have to do anything actively. You can just allow. What I will say here, though, is don't try and resist. most of the buffering is us thinking we shouldn't have that emotion, or not wanting to experience it, being frightened of it, or wanting to stay in that celebrated emotion, not wanting to come back to normal. And so when we're in that state, we try and resist the emotion. And what happens is we give it strength. We focus our brain's attention upon it. Think of a time when maybe you've had an argument or an accident, or something happened that was maybe surprising or maybe unpleasant, and then suddenly your brain got fixated on it. It's like it goes round and round and round. It just stayed with you for for hours or a day or a week. And the reason is because you've decided that it's meaningful, that it's important. You're thinking it should have been different than it should have been, or you shouldn't have had those emotions, they shouldn't have said what they did, or whatever happened, right? Because you keep focusing your brain's attention on it, you keep rethinking those same thoughts over and over and over again. And so, of course, your brain keeps generating those same emotions. You might have been scared or embarrassed or ashamed or joyous. But because you're thinking the same thoughts over and over again, your brain keeps generating the emotion. As soon as you let the thoughts go, allow your brain to settle, to return to neutral, then the emotion will pass. And like I said, you will generate new thoughts and have new emotions. So the best way to stop emotional eating is to simply allow yourself to experience the emotions you created. Notice them, allow them, question them. And step 4, if you need to, if you would rather feel something else once that emotion has been processed, you can then think new thoughts. You can choose a new feeling. And all you have to do is find the thoughts that cause that feeling to rise up within you. All feelings are available to you at all times. All you have to do is to connect with the thoughts that generate that feeling for you. It sounds simple, and the concept is simple. The doing of it takes practice. I mean, it is easy, it's effortless almost, because you can do nothing, you just allow. But not reacting in the way that we have been will feel disconcerting for you. It's going to take some work and some practice. As I said, most of us have been practicing our unhealthy relationship with emotions for most of our lives. So give yourself some time, some compassion, some understanding, and I encourage you to give yourself some practice of just noticing your emotions, allowing them, naming them perhaps, questioning what they're here for, and then letting yourself choose new ones if you want to. Even if you just do the first 2 steps, notice and allow, you can completely end any need for emotional eating. It's incredibly exciting. It's an amazing way to be. And I know from experience, I no longer emotionally eat. I want that for you. So if this has been helpful, if you've learned anything, I would love to hear in the comments. What insights spoke to you? What are you going to try differently that you haven't been doing in the past? And if you're following on YouTube, then make sure you subscribe so you get notified of every new video. If you're on my email list, I will send you a notification. You can stop emotional eating for good. Just contemplate that for a moment and think about, what could you do then if you weren't spending all of that time undoing any of your hard work or sabotaging your success? Share this video with friends if it's helpful for you. Otherwise, have an amazing week. Enjoy experiencing every emotion. And I'll talk to you soon. If you want more help transitioning into the life that you want to be living, rather than the life that you have, then remember, you can always sign up for a free exploratory coaching session with me on my website. Go to livemorelife.com.au and click on Free Exploratory Session. Fill in the form and I'll be in touch to help you out. Talk to you soon.